Hi everybody, it's Marissa here and welcome to this mini session of EFT for stuck emotions. For those of you that don't know, I'm Marissa Walter. I am the founder of Break Up and Shine and I run this support group as well as my website Break Up and Shine. I am a counsellor and a coach and a writer, and my work is all around supporting people to move on from their breakup by changing the way that they think about their breakup so that they can change the way that they feel about it. Using lots of different methods, and EFT is one of those which you have voted for in the group, so I'm going to put on a little session for you today to learn a little bit more about it and how it can be helpful for you. So I'll start by explaining what EFT is for anybody who doesn't know. If you haven't heard of it, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, sometimes known as tapping. And what is it? Well, basically, to sum it up, it involves tapping on particular points on the body, around the upper body, while you are saying statements around emotion. And the idea is that through tapping on these points, which are considered to be meridian points similar to those in acupuncture and acupressure, while you tap on those while you are saying emotional statements, you release the emotions around what's going on for you. And it can be really useful particularly in breakup work where we get stuck, where we're finding it really hard to move on, where we keep coming back to the same point over and over again. Something like EFT can be a really useful tool. I've used it myself, I use it with clients, and yeah, it can be really effective. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about the background of EFT and a whole massive tutorial on the ins and outs of EFT, because if you want to do that, you can find so much information online. There are like literally hundreds of tapping videos that you can use, and you can learn more about it just by Googling or going onto YouTube. What I will do today is walk you through a basic technique, and also just to point out that there are many different ways of doing EFT. So I'm doing a round which I learned, but some people tap, there are slight variations and you can tap on different points, but we're not here about getting technique 100%, because even if you don't get the technique 100% right, it doesn't mean that it can't be effective. There may be some of you out there feeling fairly skeptical about EFT or thinking it sounds a bit weird. That's absolutely fine too. Being skeptical about it doesn't mean it's less likely to work for you, and it's one of those things where it's not going to do you any harm. So it's literally tapping on your points, talking you through your emotions. If nothing happens for you, then nothing happens for you, but usually something does happen. Usually there is a bit of a response. So what can you expect from EFT? The idea of it is that it's an emotional release. So you might find yourself feeling sad, you might find yourself feeling anger, depending on what you're tapping on. It's fine. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. Something to come up and something to be released. So if you cry or you feel angry, that's all great. You might not do that for you. What it can also do is give you a bit of an aha moment. So you might start talking through a sentence, talking through your statement and tapping on it, and what you find is that you suddenly get some clarity on something or see something in a different way that you have not looked at it before. So it can be really useful for helping you focus on where you're stuck and helping you to kind of suddenly see what you might have been missing before. So those are the ways that it can be really useful for you. Stay with it, and we'll do a round. Physically, there are a couple of things that you physically might feel when you're doing EFT. One of them is after you've done a round of EFT, you might feel tired. It's really normal to suddenly start yawning after you've done it. You might feel that you need to breathe deeply. You might feel that you need to stretch out. You might even feel that you're a little bit thirsty, so it might be useful to have a glass of water nearby. So those are some of the physical things that you might expect from EFT. But other than that, it's something that hopefully you will find really useful, bring up some stuff for you, release it, and once you've released that, then you're on to the next level of moving forward, because as I always say, that you know, you can't move forward until you've started to let out the emotions that are stuck there. It might make you aware of things that you didn't even think that you that were bothering you before. You might have some emotions around things that you think, oh, I should have been over this by now. I should have got over this by now. I thought I'd dealt with this by now. And then you do a round of EFT and suddenly realise, oh, actually, that does still bother me. There is something still there that's a bit stuck and needs to come up. So now that I've explained what it is and what it's all about, I'm going to walk and talk you through a round of emotional freedom technique tapping. So this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to grab yourself a pen and paper if you haven't done that already, and have that close by. And what I want you to do is to just start by just sitting in quiet stillness for a few breaths. So we'll just sit together. You can close your eyes if it helps. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to think about what it is that you're finding hard to accept around your breakup. What are you finding difficult to release? Where are you stuck? Just take some quiet breaths and feel into that. Try to get as clear as you can about the emotion that you're feeling. So where it is that you're stuck, you might be thinking, oh, I'm really stuck because my ex won't pay me child support, or I'm really stuck because I don't know, I just feel like I've been betrayed. So those are the thoughts and where you're stuck and you can't get past a particular issue. But what I want you to do is to get really clear on the emotion. So for example, you might say, I'm angry. I'm angry that he left. I'm ashamed of the way I spoke to her. I feel so desperately lonely. I'm terrified about facing life alone as a single person. So get quite clear on what the emotion is. And just jot a few things down that you're feeling. I'll give you a few moments to do that. Breathe into it and feel what you're feeling. And get clear and be honest. So even if you feel like, I shouldn't be feeling this by now, it's a year on or it's 2 years on, I shouldn't still be feeling like this. If you are feeling it, you're feeling it. So just go with it. It's what you're feeling and it's what we're here to do. We're here to release that. We're here to release things that are stuck and that you keep coming back to time and time again. And another important thing is to really use your own language. So if you wouldn't say, I'm angry, what would you say? You know, if you use swear words, use them, because it's your language. So if you need to say, I feel really pissed off about this, or I feel like shit, then say that, because they're your words. Equally, if that's not your language, don't force it. You say, I want you to jot down how you're feeling in your own words. That's the important thing. So I'll give you a moment to do that. And if this is, if it feels like we're going too far ahead and you haven't had time to catch up, obviously this is a video, so just pause and come back to this. So once you've done that, we are going to turn your sentences into statements. And this is where we work on the tapping, because the tapping is around statements that we're going to say. And the statements are, even though, whatever your sentence is, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Those are the statements we're going to use for tapping. So for example, even though I'm angry that he left me, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. This is a really important part of it, because it's just about honouring that what you feel is what you feel. And even though you feel like this, and even though you might feel terrible, there's still a level of acceptance of who you are and what you feel, and that's really important. So when you've got your statements down, your even though I feel like crap, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm terrified about being single forever, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. When you've got those statements written down, I'm going to start showing you a round of tapping. And for some of you, you might have actually noticed that even saying that statement, even though I feel this, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, that sometimes in itself can bring up a bit of emotion. So if it has, stay with it. And we're going to start a round of tapping. So we start with the statement that you've created. Choose one of your statements. And as I say, we're going to go through this round of tapping. You don't have to do it perfectly first time. What I'm going to do is I'll demonstrate and then I'll invite you to join around with me. So I'm just going to pick a statement from the list that I've got. So I'm going to pick, even though I feel so desperately lonely, I'm going to use that as my example statement. So you start by tapping here, which is called the karate chop point, which is just below your little finger on this fleshy point here. And we say, even though I feel so desperately lonely, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you can repeat that to reaffirm it and to check in with you if it feels right. You might want to change the sentence as you're saying it. Even though I feel so lonely, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then we're going to start on the tapping points. I'm going to take my glasses off for this because it involves tapping around the face and it gets in the way. So we start here and we don't say the whole sentence. We just say the middle of the statement part and see what comes up. So I feel so lonely. That's your eyebrow point here, which is just on the inner part of the top of your eyebrow. And then we go to the outer eye here. I feel so lonely. And then under your eye, I feel desperately lonely. And then under your nose, I feel so lonely. And on your chin, I feel so desperately lonely. And this point here, just under your collarbone, I feel so lonely. And then this point here, which I don't know the name of it, I just call it it's like where your bra strap is. I feel so lonely. And then the top of your head, I feel so lonely. But I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then you take a deep breath. And that's one round of tapping done. Now, depending on what's come up for you, as you go through the tapping round and you say the words or you say your statement to yourself, stuff might come up. You might find that you change it. You also might find that you get halfway through a round of tapping on a particular statement and then something completely different pops into your head. You can continue with that. It might be a follow-on. So it might be that you start off saying, I feel lonely, and then that suddenly becomes, I'll never find anybody to love again, or becomes I'm unlovable, or whatever comes up, let it come up and do that round of tapping and release it. So I'm going to go through again. I'm going to do it slightly quicker as a round just so that you can see how it looks, because that feels like it takes an awful long time, but actually in reality it doesn't. And I'm going to just pick a different one and show you what I mean. I'm going to try and pick something that's going on for me a little bit right now. Okay, I'm going to pick one that's really honest now. So even though I feel slightly nervous doing a video about EFT and doing a tutorial for it for a group, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So that's a real one for me, because being on video and being on camera is not something that comes naturally, and it is something that does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable and out of my comfort zone, but it's something that I do because it's how I share the work that I want to share. So I'm going to do this as a live demonstration of doing that. So even though doing this EFT tutorial is really out of my comfort zone, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though doing this video is out of my comfort zone, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I'm out of my comfort zone here. I feel really vulnerable. I feel judged. It's uncomfortable to think of people watching me. I feel quite out of my comfort zone doing live video. I hate being on video. I hate watching myself on video, but I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I feel really out of my comfort zone being on the video, but I deeply and completely love and accept myself. But even though I feel uncomfortable and out of my comfort zone doing this video, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So, stuff came up for me then as I was doing that. I could feel some emotion around it. I could feel a bit of discomfort, but what was actually really good is as I went through and I tapped on those things and I got really clearer on what it was that was making me uncomfortable, I started to release those things. And it's really strange because I've come out the other side of doing that round of tapping and actually feel far less uncomfortable and far less nervous about being here talking to you about the EFT, because it just feels real and it feels natural. So that's how EFT can work for you. So I just wanted to share that with you. So anyway, less about me now and back to you. And I'm going to put my glasses back on. EFT can be a really useful tool. It can be useful to do with another person to sort of mirror you and what you're going through, but the beauty of it is that it's a great self-help tool. You can really do it by yourself, just getting clear on what your statements are, tapping through them, allowing whatever comes up to come up and just allowing yourself to process it. I've done EFT with a practitioner before, and the stuff that's come up for me that she helped lead me through was amazing, and I was a kind of blubbering, snotty mess with some of the things that was coming up, and some of the statements that I was tapping through really helped to release stuff. So I advocate it massively because it has worked for me. I've seen it work in sessions with clients as well, where things that they hadn't even realised were kind of on their radar have started to come up once they use the tapping. I don't know how it works. I don't know if it's magic or some kind of woo-woo, but I advocate it hugely as a tool for helping to release stuck emotions. So I hope that you have found this little session useful today. I would love for you to kind of go away and do your own round of tapping, to come back into the group and share anything that's come up for you, whether you found that you feel differently after doing a round of tapping. You're not necessarily going to do a round of tapping and feel completely differently about your whole situation. That's not what I'm suggesting in any way, but it's for individual emotions that get stuck and need a bit of help with releasing. And once you've released that emotion, you can go to a new place. You think differently about things once you've released a lot of the emotion around it. So that's what it can really help with. So it's something that you can use every day, several times a day if you want to. You can use it anytime something comes up. You can even do kind of discreet tapping if you want to. If you wanted to kind of, you didn't want to just sit at your desk at work or with your kids doing the whole round of tapping, you can just do some really quiet, discreet karate chop tapping on something that's just coming up for you. And I know that I've worked with a client who said that being in a difficult situation with her ex-partner, she found that if she just went away and breathed and did a little bit of hand tapping, that really helped to release what was coming up for her then. So I hope that you have found this useful. I think it was a majority choice in the group that wanted the EFT tapping, but even if it wasn't your first choice, I hope you found it useful, and please do come back into the group and let me know the outcome of some of the work you've done around tapping. Also, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please pop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not a huge EFT expert. I'm not a EFT practitioner. That's not the kind of, that's not my main thing. It's just one of the many tools that I use as part of my work with helping people, and it's a really, really useful tool. But as I say, there's a lot of information out there online that you can go if you want to research a little bit more about EFT. But ask me anything you want to, and I will do my best to answer your questions all around it. So it's been great to share this with you today, and I really hope it's been useful, and I will see you again in the group really soon.